Welcome to the Morrison County Board of Adjustment public hearing for Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. A few items to cover before we get started. Please sign in at the door if you have not already done so. There you will also find a detailed handout of the step-by-step procedure we will follow tonight if you wish to take one. Please put any electronic devices on a silent mode at this time. Also, please note that all testimony is being recorded for the record. Members of the Board of Adjustment are appointed to the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land Services staff is here to assist the Board of Adjustments with its duties. The task of the Board of Adjustment is to consider requests for variances and appeals from an order, a requirement, or decision made by a county zoning official in accordance with the state law and county ordinance. Each request is considered on its own merit. The burden of proving a practical difficulty rests with the applicant. If a variance is granted, it is granted to the land, not the landowner. There's a protocol for how we will proceed tonight. For each variance request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, hear testimony from the applicants, and then the board will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request. I will ask each party to come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and give your testimony. Please be as factual as possible and direct all statements and questions to me. After all testimony is complete, I will close the public hearing portion of the process. The board will then review and discuss the case in terms of our finding of fact criteria as required by Minnesota statute and county ordinance. We'll have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions be made, and have a final motion to approve or deny the request based on those findings. After this final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. So we do have 3 agenda items tonight, and the first agenda item this evening is Jason Lichtay, 9251 Rosehaven Boulevard, Little Falls, Minnesota, application for an after-the-fact variance to continue an elevated patio within a setback to the river in Bellevue Township. Would you please come to the chairs up front here and state your name for the record? And just for the record, it was George, Brent, and Marv that visited this past Friday.
No, correction, I visited it today.
Okay.
Because I had something going last Friday, so I didn't at that time.
That's right, George, Brent, and myself.
Clint, did you view?
Clint went Thursday morning.
Okay, so 5.
Yep, so all 5 went.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have him state his name for the record, please.
State your name for the record, please.
Jason Lichtay.
Perfect. All right, Miss Amy, staff report?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Chair, this is an after-the-fact variance request to keep a patio, retaining wall, and a shed within setback to the river. And this is located in Section 8 of Bellevue Township. The ordinance references for this request is the Mississippi Headwaters Board Standards F1, requires a 150-foot setback from the river, and it designates a 100-foot shore impact zone. And then the Morrison County Ordinance Section 706, 706.1, A and D. And then here's a plat map of Bellevue Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the variance request received from the applicant. And then a site drawing also provided by the applicant. And then a shoreline assessment worksheet and impervious surface worksheet, along with a temporary and permanent stormwater protection plan. Here's an aerial photograph of the parcel outlined in blue, and then here's some oblique imagery of the property, along with views from the river. Then these photographs were taken at the site viewing last Friday. Again, the property is in Section 8 of Bellevue Township, and it's on the Mississippi River and within the Rosehaven subdivision, which was established in 1960. It is a non-conforming single lot, which means it's less than 5 acres and 330 feet wide. The property is 175 feet wide and 24,057 square feet. The applicant purchased the property in 2014. The first Mississippi Headwaters Board standards went into effect in 1981. The required setback from the river is 150 feet, and the shore impact zone is the first 100 feet from the river. There's quite a zoning history on this property. In 1998, there was a variance to construct a 28 by 34 cabin between 70 and 79 feet from the river. In 94, there was a variance to construct a pole shed 100 feet from the river and 48 feet from the center line of the road. In October of 2021, Land Services received a complaint regarding an unpermitted fence, patio, grade and fill, and 2 sheds located close to the river. In February 2022, a first notice of violation was sent. March 2022, we sent a follow-up letter. April of 2022, a second notice of violation was sent. In August 2022, an after-the-fact variance request to keep the patio and 2 sheds was denied. August 2022, then, the final notice of violation following denial of variance. March 2023, a second final notice of violation. And then February 2024, the applicant attended a development review team meeting and follow-up to discuss corrective actions. The applicant has submitted a request for the following after-the-fact variances. 1, to keep the 20 by 48 patio and associated retaining wall within the shore impact zone. And 2, keep the 5 by 8 shed within the shore impact zone. That shed was a corrective action that needed to be removed, and it is indicated on the site, although it wasn't specifically stated in the application that he wanted to keep it, so I'm assuming that's the case, that you want to keep that?
If I could.
Okay. The impervious surface, as calculated by the property owner, is 24.14%. 25% impervious surface is allowed. The applicant has provided a stormwater plan and has reported some of it has already been implemented. The applicable comprehensive land use plan goals is natural resources and open spaces, goal C2, shoreline development, goal D1. And then the comprehensive water plan goals and objectives is groundwater goal, objective D, surface water goal, objective B, and land use and development goal. 57 notices were sent. 2 comments in support of the request was received prior to the hearing. I will read those. One is from Susan Schmea, and she stated, she said, I have no problem with giving Lichties this after-the-fact variance. And then the second one is from Christina Noyes, and she stated, I am on the Bellevue Township Board as the treasurer and also a neighbor 2 houses to the north of Jason. At our monthly meetings, I have seen the paperwork come through about Mr. Lichtie's property. We drive through this neighborhood every day, and all of our properties throughout Rosehaven are very similar. I would like to put on record my husband James and I have no issues with Mr. Lichtie's property or the appearance and placement of any structures that currently exist. I did clarify with Ms. Noyes that she was speaking on her own behalf and not on behalf of the township board, and she said this was her and her husband's comment, not that of the township board. Okay, and then here you're finding of fact and decision questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Amy. How'd we do?
Good.
All right. Anything to add, comment, correct?
Not at this time.
Okay. I'll open up to the board members up here for questions, comments, observations.
Mr. Chair,
Brent?
a comment followed by a question. So my comment is, we were out there several years ago looking at this, and the erosion that was occurring, the driveway drain that was washing out down to the river was significant at that time. Compliments to you for addressing that issue and putting sod in and a rain garden to slow that water down before it reaches the river. That's my comment. My question is, one thing that I saw that was different was in front of the patio, there was some rocks and some plants that were put in there since 2022, because they weren't there then, but they are there now, which is somewhat of a further encroachment, towards the river. And I'm curious how that came about, or if you were just following a belief or some instruction from the county or your own to do that, to stop the watershed from going down to the river.
I was suggested to do that by Darren.
Okay,
To get all the hydrangeas to grow up to hide the wall.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Marv?
I was over there this afternoon, and I wasn't going to look at it. I was kind of busy. But once I read through everything, I felt obligated to look at this property. I did not view it 2 years ago when I had it. And as Jason, we had some good conversation. Part of it, he was saying he was doing some of these because of suggestions, and some of them were Darren's suggestions. I question over the rock, which was brought up here also. His comment was that you said there's fabric, landscape fabric, which allows the water to go through and filter. Him making, this is a comment I'm going to make. I've noticed by the river that the grass was taller. I noticed, or he made comment, he says, I know this river, I lived on it for years, and he says, I want to do things to protect it. And by that, I think he is trying to be a steward of it as we go up and down that Rose Haven or up and down that river. I lived on the river, lived right across the river from him. See a lot of properties that are mowed down, that water just erodes right down to the river, creating issues. There was a comment made, and I don't know what we can do about this, which I'm thinking we need to probably put as a condition if we were going to put this forward and this would go through, in that we would have Darren make recommendations, more recommendations. Jason said he would like to put more gutters on. Did you say something about more gardens also to prevent filtering this water coming forward? Is that correct?
I thought I could put gutters on and I could make it run away from towards the road instead of just going down. I could, if I had to, if I seen erosion, I'd put rain guards in. I'd do whatever it takes.
So, I think obviously we can look at this as a few ways. I think I look at it as possibly a win-win. If we allow this, if we can mitigate for what was done, and the comment was made also that his friend that put in the patio said, well, we meet the setback. Well, if it was a lake, it would be a setback. As in Mississippi River, obviously, it's a different animal here now. And we're only one step of this. The next one is the Mississippi headwater. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that he's made a comment about getting a shoreline specialist and with some ideas to help mitigate further erosion and keep this as a great piece of property. I have no more questions at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Marv.
Mr. Chairman.
George?
So, Jason, I guess I have a few questions for you. So I was looking at, there was a variance for a 28 by 34 cabin, and now we have a house that is 25 by 65. So I guess that's one question I have. Then the second question I have is with the impervious surface on the land. I know that the Mississippi Headwaters Board is pretty big on impervious surface. And I guess I think there's more there than it's stated. I'm not sure, but adding that rock and stuff, in my opinion, would be you know, we added impervious surface on it. I think we added that to it when we were out there on the site visit. So I guess I'm just not sure on how a couple other things got in here. And I don't know if you can shed some light on the house part, how that got
Well-
bigger. Might have been before you got there, who knows?
When I bought the house, I wasn't aware of all the rules. I bought the house as it was, and the shed was there. I didn't know any of the rules. That's just the house I bought. As far as the rock that we put in, it's a filter, so I thought the whole objective was not to have water run to the river.
Yes,
So
that's
I thought
correct.
that would stop it, which it wasn't doing it before I even put it in there, because it's only at 1%, and I already had the top from the shed going the other way. But I just did that just to make it look nicer and for sure, if we did have a big storm for many days, so it wouldn't get to the river, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Well, I'm just concerned that if we would do something here tonight with it, that, you know, you may run into a problem with the Mississippi Headwaters Board on impervious surface. I guess that's my concern here.
Mr. Chair?
Amy?
So I just want to clarify, George, he provided an impervious surface calculation. Are you thinking that it's not complete?
I think there's more there than we think there is.
Okay, so in looking at it, it looks like it's a 24.14%, so it's right almost at that 25%. If it's over 25%, is that your concern? That it
Yes.
may be over 25%?
Yes.
Okay.
So Jason, is there a patio on the back of the house or a cement coming off the back of the house?
It's right underneath the actual roof though. So
It
I don't know
is.
if that would make a difference, but it's right,
Well, so impervious surface is measured from eave to eave, outside
Yep.
the eave to outside, okay.
yep.
Okay,
We measured it as best as we could.
okay, well, that was my question, just,
If I was over,
Yeah.
and if I had
Yeah.
to shrink down the fireplace where I have, or if I had to get rid of the shed, I would be gladly to do that, but we measured it as close as we could. for
okay.
what-
Well, I just want you to be aware that, you know, that they do look at that. So
Yep.
I just, because I knew there was some cement on the back of the house, and I didn't know if that was part of your measurement or not.
It was, because it's
Okay.
right, the house matches up right with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Clint?
couple comments first, then some questions. I agree with what Brent said about fixing up the washing of the driveway. That's fixed up. Good job on that from previous years. Agree with Marv. I thought right away, I noticed the shoreline was better with taller grass. And the other thing is, there's a lot more grass in your lawn than when we were out there 2 years ago. So them are good things. Couple concerns, or just things that trouble me, this isn't probably anything to do with you, is we have a 150-foot setback, and most of the houses on that road do not meet that. And we grant a variance in '89, 7 years after Mississippi Headwaters was formed, for a house, and then in '94 for a pole shed. And then that kind of brings to today with all these problems and people coming for variances, so that makes it difficult. But my question for you is, this started in 2021. So you had a complaint in October of '21. It took till February 22nd of '22, first notice. March, and then April, and then what was the date for that variance? I had that here. So then we had after-fact variance in August, so it went from October to August, so that's almost a year, okay? So then August, this board denied your request in August of '22, and it was all supposed to be tore out and all that. And now we're in August of '24. So it's 2 years. So I don't know why the big delay, or what was your thinking on that?
I have a lot of stuff going on in my life, and $1,000 isn't just that easy to come up with. And to try to fix all the things and everything, takes money.
But here's my issue with this. Marv just stated that he'd maybe have a condition, you know, if this would get approved. What's to say that you're gonna follow through with that when we're knocking on almost 4 years that this has been going on? So what kind of assurance are you gonna give us if we put conditions on and would approve this, that you would follow through with them?
I just wanted to get it over with, whatever I can do to get it over with. This has been stressing me out. I have stress in my life, and I just wanted to get this done with.
Okay, that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clint. You did pick up the extra surface in the grass there, as everybody had referenced here, so kudos to you on that. The additional feet that Darren commented on when we were out there on the shoreline, I don't know if there's a picture of the shoreline, but I asked Darren how many feet, like what would be a normal feet that you'd require somebody to do that, and he said 10 feet. If you took a tape out there, that's got to be at least 15 to 18. And you did that without being told to do that, from how I understood it. So you're taking the initiative on this. So some of those behaviors of maybe not able to attend to some of these comments and making the adjustment and going this direction and doing this without being told to do it, that's definitely appreciated. We did calculate that landscaping. So George, I think you were correct in your notice. There was one item that wasn't calculated in the impervious surface, and it was that landscaping that does help catch a lot of that additional water, and it actually came out right onto 25% impervious surface. So you're still good there. Should it have been added on here? Probably, but we caught it, and you're still within the 25%. And then as I looked at, I guess as you looked at the rest of the lot there and what you've done for that, and did make some of the adjustments there that you were asked to with the fence, there's nothing you can do, or anybody else with a house along that entire body of water that is, anytime you're going to make a home modification, you're going to have to come and ask for a variance or get a permit, or it's not just you, it's everybody up and down that thing, just like Clint said. So thanks for taking the extra initiative and filling out the application and take the time to do this right. I do think that does show a couple of things that we are making some adjustments here. Plus you put that drain in, that's catching everything before it hits a lot of that. So those are my comments and observations. Anything else from the board? Okay. We're going to open this portion up to the public at this time. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this request? Up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and your facts.
Hi, my name is Todd Poppin. I live just directly south of the property of Jason, 9223 Rosehaven. We purchased the house a year and a half ago, so we have no problem with what Jason's done there. Like Christina and the other neighbors, they don't seem to have a problem at all. There's nothing that we can see that would need to be done there.
Thank you, Todd.
Howdy. My name is Paul Franczyk. I live directly to the north of Jason, 9269 Rosehaven Boulevard. I've had that piece of property there since 1990. And prior to Jason's living there, there was a family by the name of Jerry and Dee Smith, who was there when I moved in 1990. The piece that you're talking about in regards to the that storage shed, so to speak, on the north side of their lot, that was put up, and I remember asking Jerry, I said, how do you do this at this time? And he was told at the time, and I believe it, that it was a temporary shed. It was one of those 8 by 12 little, you get them at Menards and put them up. Since it wasn't a permanent structure, it was a portable structure, he was granted that thing to get established. But that's just neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, I just want to say that I've been living there since 1990. I've had absolutely no trouble with anything that they have done there. Jason has been a great neighbor. They're good people and very much stewards of the property. And we all live on the river. We all want to protect the river. We want this to keep this as pristine as possible. And I support whatever it takes for him to continue on with what he's doing.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
My name's Kevin Larson. I live at 8897 Rosehaven, which is 8 houses south of Jason. And Rosehaven has been an issue with variances on everything ever since it was established. And I had to go through this whole thing when I built my house in '99. And when I did my variance, one of the things is staying in line with everybody else. Don't encroaching on the river any further than anybody else. Jason has done nothing but stay with everybody else on the river. And he's done nothing more than anybody else on the river. Within a few houses north of his yard, there is a retaining wall up. Never an issue about that, which is closer to the river than what Jason has done. I think Jason has shown that he's going to take care of his property. He's gradually improved his property ever since he's purchased his property. And I think he deserves to have this variance passed.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Okay, we're going to close this part of the meeting to the public and continue on. And we're going to go to the discussion around the finding of the facts and criteria. But before then, any other questions, comments, or observations from the board members?
Mr. Chair,
Marv?
I would like a condition put on that we'd have our shoreline specialists come out and design and work with Jason to help with mitigating our running the water away from the home and whatever he suggests that Jason would be following through. And we talked about a timeline and that timeline would be 1 year that these practices would all be done in.
Mr. Chair?
Amy?
I would suggest that the shoreline specialist not be the one who does this. He has provided quite a few options and suggestions, and they haven't been followed exactly the way he has implied them to be. So I think it would be better if a plan was submitted by the applicant for review by the shoreline specialist.
I'm in favor with that, if the rest of the boards, as long as Darren is okay with that.
I'm sure he would be.
Okay. Board members good with that? Okay, nods are good. Good with that? Perfect. I'll make one final comment too on, before we get started here on this finding of fact criteria, positive score for a possible out of 14 on your shoreline assessment, and you came out with a 10. So also adds to the case here for the request and the ask overall. Okay, on to the finding of fact criteria discussion questions. Is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? We'll start with you, Marv.
Well, at some point, I thought it wasn't in the line of the comp plan, but because of his willingness to work with and mitigate by making this a better piece of property by redirecting the water, making some changes to help filter the water before it receives the river or gets to the river. I believe it is in harmony and is in alignment with Morrison County Land Use Ordinance Comp Plan.
Thank you, Marv. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman,
George?
I guess everything, I'm pretty sure everything up and down the river right there is there by variance. The house on this piece of property is there by variance, as is the garage. So, yeah, I believe it does fall in line with our land use and control ordinance and comprehensive plan.
Thank you, George. Anybody else? Okay, moving to question 2. Is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? Brent?
I think he's using the property reasonably. He addressed some erosion concerns there and trying to mitigate that, while maybe putting in a patio that isn't permitted by the county in that area because of not meeting both either setback of the shore impact zone or the setback from Mississippi waters. Concerning to me is the dilemma that we're in now that it's done. Either you tear it out or you leave it in, and I'm not sure that tearing it out. I'm not sure that tearing it out is maybe the best way to go at this point. But is it reasonable? I think it was reasonable at this time, and it certainly wasn't permitted by the land use ordinance when he did it, although he claims that he didn't know that it wasn't. So that's my comments, if there's other comments from the board.
Mr. Chair, I'd agree with what Brent said. The only thing can't forget, we gotta remember the shed too. And, that shed being so close, I don't know if that's reasonable. The patio, he stayed away from, if you look on the aerial, everything's right in line with the rest of the houses. So I would say that, that's kind of reasonable, but I'm not quite sure about that shed.
Mr. Chair,
Marv?
as I was looking at that shed, as Jason stated, before this patio was there, how it was washing down towards the river. And sure, guttering it may have helped some, but gutters plug, things happen. I don't know if that gutter was on before, but here I can see what he thought was best, and the contractor that poured the concrete there thought that it was okay because it's the Mississippi River, but if you look on a map, it's also stated as Zebulon Shores Lake. But it is still the Mississippi River. So it can be confusing, but it is the river, and these are the setbacks, and that doesn't give him the rights to do what he did. But what they did was try to prevent further erosion, and kudos for that.
I'll make one comment in regards to how you're using the property and the updates and the how you've adapted to that and made the updates that you have to be a good steward of the property. So thank you for doing that. And I think that's why that helps this question lean towards a yes to are you using this in a reasonable manner as any of us would use the property? And it's pretty simple. So any other comments?
I do have one comment,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman. The patio is there, but it is no closer to the river than the home at this point. I guess as long as he doesn't do any more, you have made some positive changes there. I was not there the first time around, but you have made some positive changes. But as long as you don't do anything more. You know, I guess that's where I'm at. You know, we're walking a fine line.
Thank you, George. Question 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? George.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, pretty much all the lots in that area, I would believe, are non-conforming. Any buildings there or anything done there is going to need to be done by a variance. You really can't see the neighbors from his backyard, but I know that area quite well, and I think the houses all pretty much line up and stuff, so I would say yes on that.
Thank you, George. Anybody else? Okay, question 4. Is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Clint.
I don't see a practical difficulty. Reading Jason's answer, yes, as it was having erosion. There could have been a lot of things done to stop the erosion. Unless somebody else has a practical difficulty or Jason can come up with one before we vote, at this time I'd have to say no on that question.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just make a comment.
Yep.
On the practical difficulty, you know, and of course, you know, we can't use the ordinance as a practical difficulty. But at the same time, you know, the lots are small, there's no building envelopes in any of them, you know, so basically that would end up being that whole area would be a blank piece on the river, is what it would be, which probably wouldn't be all bad, but that's just my comment on it.
Thank you, George.
Mr. Chair?
Marv.
As I look at this, and you see through the years how this has been developed, from the road to ditches and whatever, and we, in a lot of respects, think it's overdeveloped. But with that, it creates the water to channel certain ways. And as you can see, it's channeled towards his lot and a lot through it. And I believe that Clint is right. There's numerous ways to control erosion. But this was his method, what he thought was best to control it, which I think is a practical difficulty. And you can see how that is working well with that garden. You can see how it's not eroding down to the river. Do I wish that garden would be larger? Yeah, but it's working. And I see that as, from the neighborhood and what has happened, has created this practical difficulty.
Thank you, Marv. So you always have to look at these from the perspective that you're asking for something that was already done, so it's that after the fact. But when we're up here looking at this is one of those, would we approve this ahead of time? So if that patio wasn't there, if the landscaping wasn't there, which would also mean that none of the new grass and none of the shoreline growth and none of all of the things you've done to help with the erosion would be there probably either. So when the question comes up as is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property, Clint's right, your answer doesn't suffice for that on this end, but when you look at where you're at, how close you are to the road, how close you are to the river, and yes, when zoning laws come into play, there are things that you're allowed to do and not allowed to do, and we have to sit up here and say, yep, it's this many feet, and yep, it's this far away here, but honestly, at the end of the day, some of it is the variance, and some of it is the request, and some of it is the ordinance. It's not ever just one thing probably with your property, but you're looking at a number of things. You got a beautiful lot, and you're doing a good job with it, and I hope you keep it up. I was just pausing. There you go. Number 5 is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners. I think I just covered that in my previous answer and comment on question 4 around all of those lots. We even heard from the audience today it's more than just you and who was there before you. The comment earlier about the shed and stuff, there's nothing in the application about taking that out, and it's been there since the 70s, so if it would have washed away or is causing a problem in the river, I'm guessing we would have heard about it by now, or it would have just gone away. But yeah, at this time, this variance specifically isn't because of you or anybody else at this point. So again, you have a good shoreland score, and you're at the impervious surface calculation, and you're going above and beyond. Anybody else? Okay, question 6. Does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations?
Am I supposed to?
Marv.
I was waiting. I believe it does. Even though there are economics that play in this here, I think, as Brent talked about it, removing this, what would we accomplish? It would be very expensive to remove it. Would we be lowering the impervious surface? Absolutely. But it costs a lot of money to do what he did, and he's willing to spend more money to help divert the water away from directly going to the river and contaminating it and creating further erosion. So I believe by that, he is doing more than just for economics.
Thank you, Marv. Anybody else? Okay. That wraps up the questions, and now we will go to the vote.
Mr. Chair,
Clint.
could you have Amy read off what the conditions are?
Mr. Chair, I made note of one condition, and that was for the applicant to submit a stormwater and erosion control mitigation plan for review by the shoreland specialist, and then, of course, require implementation and maintenance of that.
So we're going to put a date on it, or?
I would recommend a date.
Yeah, I guess I recommend it within 1 year that this would be taken care of, because we do not want to run into what we've had in previous, as Clint elaborated on your record here, which doesn't sit well with us. In land services, don't be afraid to give them a call. They're great to work with. They're very open.
Mr. Chair, I would say the end of October of this year. I would be more comfortable with that.
I agree with that, Mr. Chair.
Good with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
End of October.
Mr. Chair,
That's the last day in October.
Yes.
Yes.
question for Amy. So before we vote on this, regardless of what this board does tonight, this still will go to the Mississippi Headwaters Board as well. And the time frame for them, if this were to move forward with the condition and the date of October, the end of October, is that ahead of the next meeting with Mississippi Headwaters?
Yep, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
This will only move forward to Mississippi Headwaters Board if you approve this. If you deny it here, it doesn't go to Mississippi Headwaters Board. This would be done in time for their August meeting. And so this would go, they meet, I think it's the third Friday of every month. And so this would go to them for consideration and certification in August.
So to follow up on that, if it moves forward from this board and goes to their board, they could put further conditions upon.
They could. They probably won't. They have the ability to uphold your decision, modify it, or reverse it.
Okay, Thank you.
Ready for the vote? There we go. Question 1, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Question 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Question 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Clint?
No.
I, John, is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
I'm going to say no.
George?
No.
Question 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowners or prior landowners? I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
No.
George?
No.
Clint?
No.
Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
No.
Clint?
No.
I, John, is a yes. So we do not have all of the questions answered in the affirmative. Do I have a motion to deny the variance as requested?
I'll make that a motion, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Motion was made by Clint, seconded by George to deny the requested variance. A quick vote. All in favor of denying the variance, say aye. Brent?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Marv?
Nay.
Clint?
Aye.
I, John, is a nay. And the yeas have it. At this time, the motion carries to deny the variance as requested. Staff will work with you moving forward if needed, as needed. And thank you for the time. Second agenda item on for the meeting tonight is the Benjamin and Charity Hans, 36001 93rd Street, Piers, Minnesota, 56364. Application for a variance to add on to a structure within the setback to the road right-of-way in Morrill Township. Please state your name for the record.
Charity Hands.
Benjamin Hands.
Thanks for showing. And Amy, staff report?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Again, this is a variance request to construct a dwelling addition within setback to a road right-of-way. This is located in Section 12 of Morrill Township. The ordinance reference for this request is 604.9, requires a 40-foot setback from road right-of-way for structures. And then here is a plat map of Morrill Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the variance request received from the applicants, and a site drawing also provided by the applicants. Here's an aerial photograph of the parcel outlined in blue, and then also some oblique imagery of the property. And then here's some site photographs taken at the site viewing on Friday. This 20-acre property is in Section 12 of Morrill Township on 93rd Street, also known as County State Aid Highway 34. A manufactured home was placed on the property in 2011 and meets all setbacks. The applicant is requesting to place additions onto the north side of the home, consisting of a 30 by 21 dwelling addition and a 30 by 40 attached garage with a second level for living space. These additions would encroach on the setback from the county road right-of-way. Again, a 40-foot setback is required. The proposal in the application is 19 feet from the right-of-way. However, at the site viewing, it was determined the setback would be 5 feet from the road right-of-way. So we need to have some discussion with the applicants on if they want to modify their request to be the 5 feet instead of the 19 feet that they had indicated in their application.
Yes, we would like it to be the closer one, just to be safe.
Okay. And according to the assessor's records, the existing home's gross living area is 1,568 square feet with 2 bedrooms. After the additions, the proposed gross living area, not including the first level of the garage, would be 3,398 square feet with 5 bedrooms. The right-of-way is 100 feet wide at this section of the highway. And so here is an aerial photograph with that right-of-way turned on. The current septic system failed inspection. The applicant is working with a septic system designer to design a new system that will be appropriately sized for 5 bedrooms. The applicant attended a development review team meeting, and the county engineer commented that there is a wide right-of-way and that the area may be wet, which might cause some water issues in the home. Land Services contacted the engineer after the site viewing to verify whether an additional 14-foot encroachment on the right-of-way would be an issue, and the engineer did submit a letter, and I will read that when I'm done here. The applicable comprehensive land use plan goals is in agriculture, goal A2, and transportation, infrastructure, and public facilities, goal E2. In residential, goal B1, objectives 2, goal B2, and objective 2. 28 notices were sent, and 1 comment was received prior to the hearing, and that's from the county engineer, and I will read that. Okay. This is from Tony Hennon, the Public Works Director. Please review my comments below on the Benjamin and Charity Hans application for variance at property ID 17204. Morrison County State Aid Highway 34 is functionally classified as a major collector, collecting traffic from local roads and providing an important inter-county travel corridor, blending mobility and access to abutting lands and residences. It serves as an east-west cut across for the traveling public between Trunk Highway 10 to eastern Morrison County, terminating at CASA 33. The segment is primarily agriculture in nature, and adjacent land is made up of agricultural property and residences. This portion of County State Aid Highway 34 was graded in 1966 and has variable right-of-way width acquired in that time frame to accommodate the construction process. The right-of-way adjacent to parcel 17204 expands to 100 feet from the center line of County State Aid Highway 34. This is wider than typical right-of-way width, most likely to accommodating grading operations at that time. With the expanded right-of-way in this area, allowing a setback variance is unlikely to affect future public works operations. Encroachment into the right-of-way would be unacceptable. If the variance is granted, property owners should be aware that Morrison County is not relinquishing any right-of-way and may utilize the full width if needed for future maintenance and construction operations. All right, and then there's your finding of fact and decision questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Amy. How would we do? Anything to correct, comment, change?
Just for the distance on that one corner of the garage,
Down to 5 feet. Is that right?
to be safe. It was kind of hard because the right-of-way is within like a wooded, bushy area, and it starts at one spot, like where the driveway is, but it goes further back into the woods, the farther along the property you go, because the fence is not straight, so We're doing our best, yes, and that would probably be the most,
Conservative.
yes, to be conservative on that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Amy?
just so you know, it couldn't be any closer, so if it's granted for 5 feet, it has to be 5 feet or farther. So, just so you're aware of that.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open up to the board for observations, comments, questions on the application for the,
Mr. Chair, if I can just interrupt for a second, I just need to tally of how many people viewed this property. So just raise your hand if you viewed it. 1, 2, 3.
But I gotta explain.
Okay, so 4 viewed? Okay.
I stopped at about 9, right before dark. I couldn't see, I didn't want to drive in because it was so late. I wanted to be there earlier, so I did not actually go in the yard. So I didn't see a lot because of the trees, but at least I got a lay of the land. So that's all I really got to do, because then I was coming from Mora and it got way too late, so I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you. All right, sorry, Mr. Chair.
thanks, no, good to go. Board?
Mr. Chair?
Brent?
Just a question for the applicants, maybe just further explain this encroachment on the right-of-way setback is needed because moving the proposed structures further back or to the other side of the house or to some other location is not, you're not able to do that because why?
So the backside of the house cuts off or greatly reduces access to the wood stove that is on that side of the house. Plus, I'm not sure where it would come out with respect to the shed that is already there. And as far as moving it, you know, say flipping it, then you're coming into a problem with the septic. Because I think where it is right now, and B, the proposed septic is to come to the roadside of the current septic that's there and go almost all the way back to the wooden fence line that you can see right where the pointer is. I think it goes almost all the way back within 20 feet of that or something like that.
Okay, and so we're looking at, you know, a 20-acre parcel, but due to the dampness, wetlands further to the south, that's not really usable land for anything, certainly not for building. The portion where the house is now is the high ground of the property?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Marv?
I didn't view it, but I was looking at it different ways here. And this question is probably geared towards Amy. They've got a 100-foot right-of-way here. What is the typical on right-of-way off of county roads like this here?
Typical, well, on county, typical for townships is, 60 feet, 66 feet.
Okay,
33 feet on either side, but county, I honestly can't tell you that a county has a typical.
Okay.
Because way back when they did those roads, they usually acquired their right-of-way, under fee title. So it's all over the place.
okay. And I guess, the engineer explained
Yes, he
things,
said
which
this
was
is a
great.
wide right-of-way.
Yes.
Yes.
And him being okay with it, but still, if they need it, they could, will push it. But I was just trying to
Yeah.
digest and think.
Yeah,
why-
I would say for township roads, it's usually 33 feet, and for counties, it's 66, but
Okay,
it varies all over. It depends on when the road was built and developed and,
okay, so if it would be as, let's call somewhat typical, they wouldn't be here asking for it, but because the 100-foot, they're here.
yeah, a 40-foot setback, it does require a 40-foot setback. They may have encroached. It's hard to say, but that's not what
Yeah,
it is here, so.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
George?
I might be able to have Marv, I guess, I'm on a town board, so I deal with right-of-ways and stuff all the time. So township is 33 feet from the center line, and most of your county roads, because Little Falls Township has purchased land for Morrison County and turned a road over to them. So we purchased, it would be 100 feet or 50 feet each side of the center line. And at that time, they said they would like to see 120 foot, 60 each way, but 50 or 60 is usually pretty common, I believe.
Thank you.
That helps you out.
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Clint?
Okay, so reading through your answers, I think you did a good job on your practical difficulty explaining. Just kind of a couple things. One is, probably don't have no bearing on this, but why was the house put in the way it is?
You know, if, that was my other question, is why would you have not put it in straight with the
Yeah.
road or at some angle? We've asked that question ever since we started this process, because if it was straight,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here either.
Okay, so, and I'm not here to tell you how to design anything, we're not doing that. But now that, your sewer failed and you gotta do a different one, so do you give any thought that you could rearrange that and put it over on that side now, cause the sewer would be different, or?
I mean, I think our tank is still good. We just had to redo the mound.
Yeah, just the mound.
Okay.
And actually, the gentleman that we had come out to do the septic, he suggested it that way because he was concerned about different setbacks all over the place with the
Okay.
wetlands and the house and the well, and so that was his suggestion to put it there.
Fair enough, I just wanted to see how you'd answer that, so. I think that's all I really had for questions.
Thanks, Clint. Anybody else? Okay. I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anybody in the audience wish to speak, go to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and your facts. Any public comment? Any public comment? Third and final, any public comment? We will close this section of the meeting to the public, and we will move on to the finding of the fact criteria questions. Question 1, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? Brent?
I think, the applicant's proposing to put an addition on the home and a garage due to their needs. In order to do that, now they need, to encroach on that right-of-way setback. This is ag land, it's low, there's a wide right-of-way being established there. It doesn't appear that it's going to impact anything for county highway in the near future, as we've heard from the county engineer. It doesn't affect the right-of-way, not maintaining the right-of-way, or not going into the right-of-way, just in the setback to the right-of-way. And so in order for them to do that, they have to seek this variance, and I think that's in harmony with the general purposes and intent.
Thank you, Brent. Anyone else? Okay. Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? George?
Yes, there is an encroachment on the right-of-way, but it should not affect road safety as per, I will digress back to Tony Hennon's letter to this board. And the requests for this parcel, it's in a rural setting. The trees, the way it sounds, the trees were gonna stay on the north side of the house if possible. Yeah, it should be, it's a very reasonable manner.
Thank you, George.
Mr. Chair?
Clint?
I'd just like to add that, everything has different setbacks from the road right-of-ways and things like that, and we have to take a lot of them serious. We have troubles when we get into lake homes. It's a little different situation out here in ag with a home like that. Looking at all this, normally I'd say, well, geez, you should be able to make the 40 feet, but when it takes a big road, you got a way bigger road right away. I'd totally be against this if it was in the right of way, even though it's a huge one. But I think looking at your circumstances with how wide a right of way it is and then having that tree line there, it just helps your case to make it unique, and it just helps it a lot more. So I just wanted to just say that with them trees and that extra right of way, and if you ain't encroaching in it, I think that makes it pretty reasonable.
Thanks, Clint. Number 3, will the issuance of a variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Clint.
I believe so. It's, it's agriculture, but there's houses sparsed all over the, the county and actually the township and that road and the general area. I think, I already alluded on them trees. I think people that drive by, you won't even know it's there probably, that you did this addition. So, I think maybe it will through the trees because it'll be closer, but other than that, they probably wouldn't know. So I think when you go through and just look at the houses that are kind of spread out amongst there and the design of the land and with the trees, and yeah, you ain't even gonna really know it's different. So I do say yes, it would be maintain the essential character of that locality.
Thank you, Clint. Anybody else? Question 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? That one's to me. I thought the applicant hit it as well in his answer. Yes, our property has a 100-foot right-of-way versus the typical 50, and a large amount of swamp land that makes it more challenging to build in a different direction. You supplement that with the Tony Hennon letter that Amy read at the beginning of this, and that is in support of this. I think that covers down on the practical difficulty plenty.
Mr. Chair.
Clint.
I would just add that I was looking at his other practical difficulty sheet that's a lot bigger. And in there, he explained that if he put it over on the side where the bedrooms are with the windows, you wouldn't be able to get out, and I would block that. So that ties into it. So that just wanted to add that. It just adds to what you said, so.
Thank you, Clint. Okay, question 5. Is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Marv.
The rest of them were commenting, you did a great job in filling this out, and I'm going to use what you used here for an answer. We wanted to add on to our home due to its increased family size and needing more space as the kids were getting older. Other options for building on the present were significant challenges, as were stated, the water and swamp, whatever. It is possible that unusual large right-of-way was due to the construction of the road, and that is what was brought out over and over, and as stated, the county engineer was okay with this too, so yes.
Thank you, Marv. Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Brent.
Just expanding on what the applicants wrote for their answer to number 6. This involves what you have there. You got 20 acres of land. That being said, most of it is low and wet. You've got the highway right-of-way being 100 feet there, plus a 40-foot setback, which gives you 140 feet. They're trying to utilize the highland or the high ground that's available. They've got to rebuild that sewer to accomplish this, which will end up taking more space in other locations. They got the existing well and the existing buildings that are all on that property. So the alleged practical difficulty involves more than just economics. You're not trying to save any money by putting it in this location. It's just it's really about the only usable location on the property to do an expansion.
Thank you, Brent. Anyone else? Okay. Before we go to the vote here, we are only changing the distance from which we are from the right-of-way, which is 5 feet.
Correct. So instead of considering encroachment to be 19 feet from the road right-of-way, we're considering an encroachment to be 5 feet from the road right-of-way.
Okay. Thank you. Good with that? The applicant's good? Okay. Question 1, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance? Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by land use ordinance? George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Question 3, will the issuance of a variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Question 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Question 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
All of the questions have been answered in the affirmative. Do I have a motion to approve this variance?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the variance request.
I will second that.
Motion was made by Brent, seconded by Marv to approve the variance as requested. All those in favor say aye. Brent?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Clint?
Aye.
Aye, John is aye.
Thank you for a good application.
Yes.
You are
So the
welcome.
motion
Thank
was
you.
made and a motion was made and to approve the variance as requested. Staff will work with you on your options. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I viewed this one Thursday morning.
Okay. Third and final agenda, Danielson Cabin Trust LLC, 31617 60th Avenue, Cushing, Minnesota, 56443, application for a variance to expand a nonconforming structure located in Scandia Valley Township. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, Scott Danielson.
I'm Becky Danielson.
Thank you. Miss Amy with the staff report.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a variance request to expand a nonconforming structure within setback to the lake and side property line located in Section 26 of Scandia Valley Township. The ordinance references for this request is 301.6, 706.1, and 706.1B. Here is a plat map of Scandia Valley Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the variance application received from the applicant. And then a site drawing also provided by the applicant, along with a temporary and permanent stormwater protection plan, impervious surface calculation, and vegetation plan. Here's an aerial photograph of the parcel outlined in blue, and then here's some oblique imagery of the property, and then also a view from the lake. And then here are some photographs taken at the site viewing on Friday. Again, the property is in Section 26 of Scandia Valley Township on Lake Alexander. The parcel is a non-conforming single lot size, which means it's less than 120 feet wide at the lake and 30,000 square feet in area. So the parcel is 100 feet wide and 96,540 square feet. According to the assessor's records, a 1,712 square foot dwelling built in 1947 exists on the property, and it is 71 feet from the lake. The applicant acquired the property in 2018 and requests a variance to add a 1,180 square foot two-story addition to the south and east sides of the existing cabin. The additions would meet setbacks from the lake and the south property line. The total existing gross living space is 1,712 square feet with 3 bedrooms. The proposed gross living space is 4,072 square feet and 5 bedrooms. The existing septic system is undersized for a 5-bedroom home. If the variance is granted, a septic system inspection must be done to determine the compliance status of the existing system. The proposed impervious surface calculation is 12.94%, 25% is allowed. An approximate 56,784 square foot building envelope exists on the property, and the proposed dwelling additions would be within this envelope. And then here is that laid out. The applicable comprehensive land use plan goals is natural resources and open spaces, goal C2, shoreline development, goal D1. The comprehensive water plan goals and objectives is the surface water goal, objective B, land use and development goal, objectives B and D. Suggested condition, if approved, is the property owner shall increase the capacity of the septic system to be adequately sized for a 5-bedroom home, and this shall be completed by December 31st, 2024. 81 notices were sent. 1 comment was received prior to the hearing. I'll read that. This is from Mike Wachnick. He said, I received notice for the public hearing tomorrow, the 30th. I am the next door neighbor to number 3 on the list. I have visited with the Danielsons about their proposed addition to their structure. As the neighbor that this proposed addition is closest to, I have no concern or issues with their variance request and support it. Unfortunately, my schedule does not allow me to attend the meeting tomorrow. All right, so that was the public input, and here is the finding of fact and decision questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any corrections, comments, observations? Good to go?
So, all correct.
All right, thank you very much. Board members?
Okay. Now was our Thursday morning. Sorry I missed Friday.
That's right, no problem.
So what I saw, you got quite a bit going on the lake shore too, but it's really nice. But anyways, my question is, so maybe I probably missed it Friday, you probably talked about it. So could you give me some backstory, why you need 5 bedrooms, why the addition's so big? You bought it in 2018, and then now that's 6 years later, and now you want something different, so just maybe clue me in on that if you
Sure,
could.
yeah, sorry you went there. My father and mother owned the cabin since 1978.
Okay.
I inherited it with my brother and
Okay.
sister in 2018, so that's kind of how that was going. So we have 3 families, and we love it up there. It's been in our family for many years, so we just wanted to add on to have more space. We could all be there and enjoy it. And just want to update 2 things, because it's an older one, so we want to get some more kind of ADA, make it wider, hallways, getting in the bathrooms, et cetera. So that was the reason to improve it.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
That helps
Okay.
me a lot. A beautiful property, all
Thank
them
you, yes.
trees
We're
to go
very-
way
yeah, we love
back
the trees,
there, yeah.
yeah.
It's well maintained.
Thank you.
It is older cabin, but in good shape, so. Just offers observations. Of course, it's a huge lot. Impervious surface way down because of the huge lot and all the trees, and also good coverage from the lake, so. There were some good observations. It's just when you see something getting that much bigger, which
Sure.
it's hard because your next door neighbor's got a big one too, but,
Both sides are rather big, but,
so,
yeah.
if I would have been there Friday, I would have heard that, so that's
Okay.
why I wanted to ask that.
Sure,
So,
no problem.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, so Amy, what was that square footage that we were gonna end up with? Where was it gonna start and where was it gonna end? It
Oh,
was
the gross
17
living
something?
area?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Well, the total living space is what we were looking at.
Yeah, give me just a second to get to that slide.
Because I thought I had it calculated out, but my numbers don't jive with yours.
So I'm using gross living area. That does not include the first level of the garage. And so that's maybe why we don't jive. But The assessor shows 1,568 square feet. And then with the square footage of the addition, and including second story, but not the first level of the garage, because that wouldn't be gross living space, I'm coming up with the 3,398.
So I guess I'm confused on this thing, looking at so we got a 22 by 22 and an 8 by 20, so that's 160. So the footprint's gonna be about 400 and, had it written down here. The new footprint's gonna be 650 square feet.
But it's two stories.
Yeah.
That is not our slide. Excuse me, sorry, that's not our property. I don't know which one
Oh,
that is.
sorry, I went back too far. Excuse me. I've got this all in one PowerPoint, so excuse me. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't look familiar.
Are you sure you don't want that one?
It's a big garage, though, I'm liking that. Is that a three-car garage?
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, we should have 484 square feet, and then it's 160 square feet, those two.
So that would be.
And then the third floor, if we do it the second, would be another 484 on top. So that's 1180.
That's what I had,
Yeah,
1180.
yep.
Onto 1568 is 2,800 square feet. Am I missing something?
You'll have to give me time to recalculate.
Okay.
What's the square footage where are you going with the impact, if you
Well,
go that direction?
I just want to, I mean, we were talking about, how much bigger it's gonna be, and when I saw 4,000, I thought, well, that's kind of a large number.
Yeah, does that include the base, because we won't have a basement on some, this might just be crawl space, that's why I was a little, should be, yeah. Actually, if I remember right, we're 1,700 and something currently, and we're adding 1,180.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought.
Yeah, here we
And
go.
that- That's what I had.
Sorry, 1,724 current, and then we'd be adding the 11, so whatever that adds up to, I don't know.
And then is the 1180 including the second levels?
Yeah, the second level, that's including the
Okay.
second level, yep.
So I came up with 2,904 square feet.
Okay,
That's why I was asking the question, because it didn't seem right.
2904 is what I got.
I think we volleyed back and forth about this before.
Okay,
Didn't we? And I had given you my math, I'd have to,
okay, yeah.
so,
I just
I
just
spent-
wanted to make sure that,
yeah.
yeah.
So the good news is you're not granting total livable space, you're looking at that physical expansion, so it's the 22 by 22, just realizing that it's two stories. And so, generally, the reason why I include that is because, sometimes it's not realized by the Board of Adjustment that it's two stories or a full basement and then the main floor and a second story. And, so that plays differently with impact when you are adding essentially three floors rather than just the one. So I
Yep.
give that to you. If it's not useful to you, I'll discontinue giving you that information.
No, it's useful.
No, it's useful. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had it right when we're looking at this. Thank you.
thank you, George. Barbara Brent?
Sorry.
Anything else? Anybody else? Good to go?
Mr. Chair,
Barb?
I just, I was there, I believe, on the 22nd, Tuesday the 22nd, to view the property. Yeah, obviously a very large lot, very large building area like that. And, if that cabin was placed back just a few
I
more
know.
feet, you wouldn't be here.
I know, I don't know why, yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
back
that-
then it was 1947, so
Yeah.
I don't know if they had land use setbacks even back then, so.
But, yeah, and as Clint pointed out, when I walked down to the lake, and I said, holy smokes, you have a lot of activity down there, with the boats and dock and whatever, a lot of, it's that's the part that probably is just like, wow. But what you're asking for probably isn't outrageous, so anyhow, I have no questions. I think it's pretty straightforward here, so thank you.
Say, was the, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Say, was the riprap, I guess I never saw that when I was there, but was all the rock on the shoreline, was that all figured in your impervious surface?
I don't think the riprap was, no, I didn't know, I thought it was around the cabin, but I think I could get you that, but it should be.
No, I was just
Yeah.
asking.
No, I'm sorry, I thought
Yeah.
it was just around the concrete and the rock around the landscaping. So that I did not catch, sorry about that.
Okay, no, I was just asking the question.
Yeah.
I mean, you're plenty low anyway, but.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay. Anyone in the public or in the audience wishing to speak to this, go up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, state your facts. Any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? We will now close this section of the meeting to the public, and we'll go to the finding of the fact criteria. Starting with question 1, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? George?
Yeah, the addition is within the building envelope. The addition they meet all the setbacks. The impervious surface is less than 13%. Meets the goals and objectives of the ordinance.
Thank you, George. Anyone else? Clint?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to add that, the soil type that's there, there is a downhill slope to the lake. But I think with that real sandy soil, with all the trees, and then you don't have a lot of impervious surface on the lakeside other than the riprap.
Right.
I believe that helps mitigate some of my concerns with that, to tie into what George just stated. I think with the distance and then with the soil type would being real sandy, that the water is gonna soak just immediately into that. I think that helps me answer question 1.
Yeah, it's like beach sand underneath it, it's unbelievable.
Thank you, Clint. Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by land use ordinance? Clint?
Yeah, I believe with 50-some thousand square foot lot, they got a huge building envelope. Yes, the cabin originally was placed too close to the lake. If it was back 5 feet, you'd be 1 foot far enough. Then we wouldn't even be here. I think with trying to put where you are putting this proposal in all of the building envelope, you're not encroaching on the lake anymore. You got that set back. I think with that size of a lot and your impervious surface being as low as it is, even with the calculations maybe not exact, I think in that big lot and heavily wooded, I think definitely it's reasonable what you're trying to do with this property. So I'd have to say yes to question 2.
Thank you, Clint.
Mr. Chair,
Marv.
I'd like to also add that 81 notices were sent, and one was commented in favor of that also.
Thank you, Marv. Question 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? That one's to me, and I believe it would. You look at your neighbors on both sides and the distance they are to the water, the distance they are to the other property lines, sizes of the homes, types of homes, colors of homes, and just the lakeshore in general. I think it fits right in. Question 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Marv?
As they answered these questions quite well, and what they used was the existing structure was built in 1946 prior to the setbacks. And as it was stated before, if it was just shifted 4 or 5 feet, they wouldn't even be here, and they're going to in building envelope. So, yeah, prior to the setbacks is creating this issue.
Thank you, Marv.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to add, the applicant did state that he inherited the house from family, which would kind of be a unique circumstance for a piece of property. It doesn't always happen. Usually they come to us and they buy a property and then realize it doesn't fit their needs, so.
Thank you, George. Question 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Brent?
Not knowing who built this original structure back in 1946 or who placed the cabin or multiple cabins along there. I'm not sure if it was maybe a resort at one time with all of the structures along there, but they all seem fairly similar in size, closeness to the lake and to the water. That was built before, your answer to this question was being built before the land use controls. That was 60 years ago. We're 60 years into the future now, looking at a variance of talking just several feet to meet the needs of the land continuing on, hopefully for another 60 years, and maybe it can go on to another generation. Is the need for the variance created by others? Well, you can't do anything with this you can't attach anything to this because it's a non-conforming, and that's due to its location by whomever put it there, and I don't know if that's the contractor that did it back then or what. I think it could be others besides the landowners.
Thank you, Brent.
Mr. Chair.
Clint?
I'd say back in 1946, when they built it, the horses were tired by the time they got down the driveway. But I think we could be fortunate that being that old of a structure to be 71 feet away, it still isn't right, but we should be very fortunate because I'd challenge 95% of them are at like 30 feet, so that's very fortunate, so just more of a comment.
Thank you, Clint. Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? George?
Yes, I believe so. The house was inherited by family. Existing house is in very good condition. They like to keep the charm and character of the existing building, and they're willing to stick some money into it. So my answer would be yes.
Thank you, George. Okay, on to the vote.
Mr. Chair,
Clint?
I believe we have the one condition, it would be that sewer, right?
Would you like to hit that for the record?
I think it was December 31st.
Mr. Chair, staff has recommended the condition that the property owner shall increase the capacity of the septic system to be adequately sized for a 5-bedroom home, and that would be completed by December 31st, 2024.
Any problems with that?
Not a problem. We already talked to the septic person about that. He
Okay.
said it's no problem, doable, easy. So
Perfect.
thanks.
Okay, question 1, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Question 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the Land Use Ordinance? Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Question 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
Question 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Question 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is a yes. Marv?
Yes.
Question 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? George?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I, John, is yes. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
All the questions were answered in the affirmative. Do I have a motion to approve the variance as requested with the condition?
Mr. Chair, I'd make that motion with the one condition for the capacity to meet the 5-bedroom by 2024.
I have a second.
I'd second that.
Motion was made by Brent, seconded by Clint to approve the variance as requested. All in favor, say aye. Brent?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Marv?
Aye.
Clint?
Aye.
Aye, John is an aye. Motion carries to approve the variance as requested. Staff will work with you on your options. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I just want to shout out to Land Services. They were very patient with me, especially Amy, because it's been a long process, and I really appreciate it. You guys have been great.
Thank you for being our guinea pig.
Oh, and the new,
on
yeah, the
our
first
new
one, that's right.
application.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
So much appreciated there,
Sure,
too.
no problem. It was
Thank you.
easier, I think, than the older one, when I had them both, like, so. Thanks, guys, gentlemen, appreciate it very much.
Thank you kindly.
Last one.
All right. On to approval of the July 16 minutes of 2024.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve.
A second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Minutes approved.
Fantastic.
New business?
I don't have any, Mr. Chair.
Old business?
I don't have any of that either, I don't think.
All right. Can I get a motion to,
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Meeting adjourned at 7:44 PM.